I've been telling people that forever.
Really?
This is a game. Life is a game. Learn to play it. And I think so many people don't want to play the game. And that's where the suffering comes from, because they go against it. They don't flow with the river. They want to go against it. I think eventually you realize you are the river, but until then, you got to flow with it.
I love that. I feel like there was a time in my life when I didn't want to accept that.
Yeah.
When I didn't want to play the game at all. It's funny that sometimes I use video game metaphors. I've never played video games, and it's just because I was like, what's the point? You know? And now for a while, I understand this is indeed a game. I think what happens is you will have to gone through some sort of ego death to accept
Yes,
that, right?
yes.
Because if this is indeed a game, then everything loses meaning and then gains new meaning.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the System. I'm your host, Leo Climaco. You know, the name of this show, Out of the System, is something that means many things to me. My guest today is a philosopher. She is someone who is very tapped in, very in tuned to the frequency of what's happening right now. She is a mystic person here to teach us about the 7 different layers of life and of this reality. Delfina, how are you?
Hi, I am great. That was quite an intro. Thank you. I hope I can live up to that. Thank you.
Very welcome. How are you today?
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation. Feeling great.
Me too. Tell me about your background and what you think helped build your philosophy to who you are today.
Yeah, I think since I've been pretty much, I would say, a lifelong student of spirituality, my father was, and still is, he's a spiritual seeker. And I think my first memory that I have of it is, as I was telling you earlier, I was born in the Soviet Union. During that regime, you were not, anything spiritual was like
Right.
shut down.
Right.
Anything against the norm.
No creativity.
You know, creativity existed because sometimes I look back at like on Soviet films and my mind is blown of what they were talking about and things they were doing. Creativity was celebrated as long as it stayed within the parameters.
Got it.
So people would find like covert ways of saying things, you know.
Got it. It's like bowling. They put on those bars on the side, and you got to stay within the line.
You got to stay within the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. But within those lines, people created. I feel like constraints actually give you, I found this to be true. Constraints give you actually the power to be very creative, rather
Yes.
than when you have, you know, free reign, you don't know where to go.
Right.
Yeah. So my dad would have these gatherings in our tiny one-room apartment, and I think I was in a crib. I just remember having conversations in my head with them as they were talking about all of these philosophies, and they were talking about you know, spiritual topics, but sometimes they would get into philosophy and sometimes into things like extraterrestrials and, you know, different dimensions. And I would have conversations in my head and say, well, that guy's wrong. That guy's off on a tangent. And this one is right. And it's a memory that I have, and it fascinates me that like at that age, you know, that's how I got started. Like that spark came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really my dad, I think, bathed me in that knowledge and in the curiosity for that knowledge. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got started. And then growing up, I realized pretty quickly that I was kind of the weird kid. Like it was really weird to talk about things that I was seeing and things that I was thinking. Most people weren't, you know.
Right.
I thought everybody hears things and sees things, and everybody's into this, and everybody knows that there are other beings around. And especially when I was like 11, 12, I was a teenager, I realized, nope, we have to shut it down. So I had a process of like shutting it down, and then that took me on a journey.
Were you embarrassed of it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I was embarrassed, and especially since we were immigrants, and when we immigrated to the United States, you tend to stick your own, right?
Yep.
So we lived in this huge apartment complex with people from the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union at that point. And it was like Russians, Ukrainians, Armenians, and everybody
Yeah.
from that land.
Belarus and Georgians
Yeah.
Latvia.
Yeah, and even though it's all these different cultures, we found this common ground. And
Yeah.
but you
Did your dad know? Did you guys have conversations about this at that age or no?
No, I don't think so. No. But yeah, at that point, you're already an outsider because we came here in 1989. So I was a child here in the 90s. And at that time, it wasn't what it is right now.
Right.
Like, we were made fun of. We were people at the news station. We came to Sacramento, California.
Okay.
And the news station ran a thing like the Russians are coming. And it was a whole thing. And people were, they were not friendly. I had teachers who were not thrilled that
Racist
we were there.
and threatened. And
Yeah. But so therefore, it makes it even more important that you do not alienate the tribe that accepts you.
Right.
Because the other and the people who in whose land you landed in, they don't accept you. So you want to make sure you're not the weirdo who's also pushed out of your own tribe. Until you embrace it, and then you become that. And I eventually went on that journey and did. But yeah.
How old were you when you began the journey of really discovering and really accepting?
So at around age 15, so I finished high school early. I did a lot of things early. And at around age 15, I took this. I went.
Why? Just because you were.
Because I hated being told what to do.
Got it.
And I hated being in high school. I thought it felt like energetically, it felt like prison. In fact,
Same.
Yeah, right. It's
Yes.
One of my other memories that I have of coming to the United States is my first experience in school, and this is. I've processed it, so it's not embarrassing. I think at the time it was embarrassing when I was a child. So we came with a group of. I had a few cousins that came with us. And every time we would go to school, my first month there, I hysterically cried every single day. And they would take me from third grade and put me in second grade with my younger cousin, and I would hold on to her and sob.
Wow.
Because I literally felt like they were putting me in a prison. Like I didn't have the words for it.
Yeah.
But I was like 8 at that point because I turned, our immigration took a long time, so I turned 8 in Rome. And I was hysterical there for the first month. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm in prison now, so we have to accept our fate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I graduated high school, and I was taking a community college class in yoga, in like yoga studies.
Okay.
So that was sort of my first entry. But also, being an immigrant, you understand, especially when you come from a place, I don't know your background, but like we came from a place, obviously Soviet Union, you have nothing, right? It's equalized. No one has anything except for the few people who do.
Right.
And my goal, most of us, is to make as much money as possible.
Yes. To have something.
To have, to never ever stand in the Salvation Army again. To never ever have to go to the Goodwill, even though it's very popular now. But like the thrifting, the whole thrifting thing was not like
a trend, right?
No, to never have the experience of knowing that you have to wear the same clothes every day and all of that. So that really drove me to be an entrepreneur. I started little businesses and little things, and but along the way, I buried myself deeper and deeper and deeper, and I would take little classes and read books until I had opened a spa at age like 20 or 21, and then I sold it a few years later. And I also had bought my first property and sold it.
Wow.
And I I was married at that time, so I did it together with my husband at the time. And when I sold my spa, when I sold my business and sold some of the properties, and had the ability to do nothing, at that point I was very depressed because I think I was 25 by that time, and I had done all of the things that you're required to do, right? I got married. I didn't have kids, but I got married. I opened a business. I had great cars. I had bought a house. I had bought a second house. I remodeled that house. I flipped I did all of these things.
Right. You had a good life.
but I had all this emptiness and sadness, and I was just like hating everything, and that's what pushed me to start opening this stuff up, and that led me to this spiritual, the intense spiritual.
Let's go back to when you were 11 for 1 second. If you don't mind sharing, what did you see? What did you hear that others didn't?
I could interpret dreams. Like, that was a fun game that my mom and my grandmother would say, oh, I dreamt this, what does it mean? And I would interpret their dreams. Especially when I was sick, like if I wasn't feeling well,
Right.
I would see little angels and beings. I felt like they were helping me. I would have a knowing. I would know things before they happened. I would sometimes see things that didn't look real, but then I look again and they are real. So I look at it now as all of these gifts that I've developed now that I can control, and I know how to work with them. Back
Right.
then as a child, it was just like a free-for-all of seeing random things.
Got it. Kind of reminds me of, there's a comic, I'm big into comics and superheroes, and there's one when like Superman first came to Earth as an adult, and it was sensory overload for him. Because he hears and sees everything.
Yeah.
Was it something like that for you?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of sensory overload. There was a lot of life overload, especially when you're energetically sensitive,
Right.
when you can feel, we have words for it now, like when you're an empath and all of these things. All of these
Right.
things, when you're a child and when you're a teenager and you're in a new country and all of these things, it was very overwhelming to know right away when someone's upset, to be able to perceive what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
Right.
Again, now at this age, I'm like, great. Back then, I think it was very challenging and scary.
It's incredible. Okay, so now you've come to a place in life where you feel stuck and you feel like, okay, there's something calling me.
In my 20s,
Yes.
not just stuck, I became very sick. I had like severe fatigue. I was depressed.
Wow.
I was having all of these, I thought I was dying, but they were panic attacks. And I would end up in the emergency room, and it was just awfulness. And the doctors would say, well, there's nothing physically wrong with you. And I would say, how dare you? I had all of these symptoms that I didn't really know what was going on. So I just started, at that point, I had the ability to, to look at other alternative therapies. And, when you sell a business, you have the ability to do
Right.
whatever you need to do. So I had started on like a holistic healing journey, and I started to learn what food is.
Okay. You began at the root.
Yeah, I began to at layer one.
Layer one. Yep.
But that was 20 years ago. So again, all of these things that we have now, they were not as popular.
Right.
And so I started uncovering the food industry, because I started understanding things. I started uncovering conspiracy theories. I started uncovering all of these things that, like in the early 2000s, most people weren't speaking. If you were talking about it, you were like a nut job.
Right.
If you were telling people that organic food is a must, like that's the bare minimum, people were like, can't believe you're falling for that, So it was. So that's where I started with food, with nutrition, and then with like affirmations, and I discovered Louise Hay and all of the that type of healing and things, and that kind of snowballed.
I want to get to these layers.
Okay, let's go into the layers.
I want to dive right into it.
Okay.
Define each layer for me. Let's start there.
Okay. So layer one, we have the physical plane, right, which is health, money, your environment. All of the things that people who are on the spiritual journey tend to sort of reject initially, and also tend to think that they're not as important. But we are in the physical realm. Sure, you might be a high soul who's here on a mission,
Right.
but you're here right now. You chose to be here. Like everybody wants to come to Earth. That's kind of the consensus. This is a very special and rare place.
Why?
So, because
Because a lot of people don't feel that way.
that's the thing. That's one of I have several very specific missions and things in life that I will do before I die. And that's one of the things, is to convince as many people. I have another, like you probably saw, I have the other, I have two other like sub-brands and accounts and things like. And I have a travel and lifestyle account, which is like part of that mission, where I want you to recognize you're in a rare opportunity. This life is so beautiful, and I can kind of counter every single argument because of the life I've lived and the difficult things that I've overcome.
Right.
You can come at me and tell me like, well, my life sucks because X, Y, and Z. I've either helped someone through it or I have been there myself, and I have realized what an opportunity this is. And whenever I look kind of beyond the veil, or when I talk to people who look beyond the veil, the consensus is this is a rare place. Souls are lining up to come here. This is where you can take command and control, and this is the coming together of spirit and matter. So you are built of the earth, right? You're a carbon-based life form.
Yeah.
But you are imbued with spirit, and therefore you are a magical being. You're able to create. Magic is something that you're able to create on earth. And if you've been on this journey long enough, even not in a spiritual journey, but if you believe in something greater than yourself, you've seen magic and miracles. I guarantee it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the earth plane is, besides the fact that it's beautiful and vast, this is the place where we can experience layer 2, the emotional layer, which is the whole like gamut of emotions. We experience love and hate and joy and heartbreak and all of these things. Imagine what life would be without emotions. There are people who live life without emotions.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There's people who go and
Narcissists.
watch. Yeah, but there's also people who've been hurt by life so much that they're disconnected.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, like childhood trauma is what creates narcissistic people, right? But life without emotions is like life not worth living. And people go to watch films, like horror films, to feel an emotion, right? Because the emotions are what make this life what it is. So the emotional plane, besides being, I mean, think about all of the emotions you experienced when you fell in love. Or do you have children?
2.
Right? So when you saw those children being born, or when you see them do something for the first time, it's like
it's magical.
Right? Yeah. So besides all of that, the emotional plane and the emotional kind of layer is also a layer where you can. That's where intuition exists. If you learn to fine-tune your emotions, that's kind of how you align with creating that magic.
What would you say, just to play devil's advocate, what would you say about suffering and war and rape and murder, things of that nature? Mm-hmm. Where do these emotions and feelings and acts come in?
Yeah. I think let's take suffering, right? Why does an individual suffer? And
to learn?
Well,
to feel? No? To
at the core, the individual suffers because you're in disagreement with
right, I see what you mean. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So yes, like certain suffering, is it necessary? Or if you're in agreement with what's happening, if you accept everything as happening for you rather than happening to you, it shifts some of the suffering. Now, there is grand suffering. There are people in parts of the world who are experiencing atrocities, right?
Yeah.
All of that does also exist. And I think it depends on the lens you look through. So if I look at it from a human lens, it's horrible, it is heartbreaking, and it's hard to understand.
Yeah.
If I look at it from the lens, if I like zoom out and look from the lens of each of us is consciousness experiencing itself. And so if you're playing like a video game, right? You go in and you have all these types of experiences, but you don't have the emotional layer in the video game necessarily.
Right.
So you're not experiencing that. Consciousness experiencing itself in every single imaginable instance is how I see it. So I don't really subscribe to good or evil when you zoom out. When you zoom, when you're here, sure, there is. This is the plane of this is the reality of duality, right? Like night has to exist for day to exist, et cetera, et cetera.
Balance, right?
Yeah, but when you zoom out, it's just consciousness experiencing itself, and in the end, that's what it's going to be. Yeah.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
Very interesting. Okay, please continue. Layer 3.
Mental layer. That's where I'm in the series right now. So mental layer is really interesting because that's the one that is our code, and usually we're playing out code that we were programmed with before the age of 7, because 0 to 7, children are like sponges.
Right.
Whatever you program into them, they're going to act out.
I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh, wow. You have
So
a
I
big
know
responsibility.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you have a big responsibility because,
Yeah.
I mean, everything. If I were you, I would take everything that you know and everything that you're learning and just impart into them. Because I imagine if I was a child, oh my God. But what is really required for people who really want to do this is to look at what code is playing out right now in your mental layer, and then shifting that code, and that exists of your beliefs, the things you tell yourself, the things that you don't even notice that you tell yourself. We can say affirmations and things all day long, but actually what's in your subconscious. So the mental layer is a really, really important one.
As you go up in layers, I guess my question is, how much effect does layer 2 have on layer 3 and vice versa?
Yeah, they all interplay together. So it isn't necessarily a hierarchy. It's more of like a spiral.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes more sense. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
if you like collapse a spiral, it's all part of the one. So they all affect each other greatly. You work all of the layers together at the same time, but hyper focusing on each layer is what's required in order for you to really master that layer.
So layer 3 is basically the matrix. No.
I mean, I think it depends on your interpretation of the Matrix. I think that the Matrix.
The movie I meant, not the actual.
The movie. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Not the actual idea of the Matrix as our reality, but the movie. It's the way that I'm looking at it is from the mental aspect of them being plugged in and getting all this knowledge, all this information, and seeing the code and being the code and understanding the code.
Yeah. In a way, it is, but I would say and that's where all of the layers come in, because at that point, when you're like entrenched in layer 3 and in the code, then you're pulling from all of I would say that my interpretation of the Matrix, as it was in the first film, you're pulling in from all of the other layers. So when you get trapped in a negative, and I know, like I said, like no negative or positive, but in these realms, yes, we do, right? So when you get trapped in the negative,
lower frequencies.
Yeah. When you get trapped in that, then you are pulling in all of the other layers, because your emotions are going to start to feed that code. And then you're going to be pulling in, so your layer 1 is going to start affecting what's happening in your lived reality.
You're reinforcing that negative vibration.
Yeah, you're going to keep you're going to keep co-creating it. Because I see it as our co-creation, and that's the 6th layer collective.
Okay, are we in layer, so it's layer 4.
Energetic layer. Yeah. So everything is energy, right?
Right.
So understanding how you work with energy, understanding how energy flows through you, understanding what energy is and really working with energy. That's the energetic layer, and it's something that I feel like I'm excited to get into it. It's misunderstood, I would say, because there's so much, popular stuff about, spirituality and everything's energy, and yeah,
Right.
sure, it is, but you have to play all the other layers at the same time as well in order to affect the energy in this realm.
What I'm getting from that is that like meditation, breath work, is that in that layer?
Kind of, but it's more in the mental layer. You have the code, right? You
Yes.
see it as code. When you play out certain code, you affect how energy flows. So let's say
Okay.
electricity is energy, right?
Right.
So if you have the dimmer switch and you turn it up, you're allowing more energy in.
Yes.
So when I am working with my mental code and with my emotions,
Got it.
I open it, and then
You're
more
aligning the
energy.
chakras
Yeah,
to.
I'm aligning the chakras, but
Got
I'm also
it.
I'm also allowing. I as the vessel am allowing more cosmic energy to flow through me and out into the world. Yeah.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, layer 5.
Layer 5 is the archetypal layer, and that's fascinating because we're, Shakespeare, the world's a stage, right?
Yeah. Truman Show.
Truman Show, absolutely. We are playing roles in everybody's lives, in our own lives, and in some people's lives, you are a villain, right? You are a villain, and there is nothing you can do about it, and they hate you, and they they're the victim.
Yeah.
Some people play the victim archetype their whole life, and there are established archetypes that
NPCs.
yeah, some people play that role. I have an interesting take on NPCs.
Go for it.
So I think sometimes I have to remind myself of this stuff because sometimes I look at people and I'm like, okay, well, we have this kind of idea of what an NPC is, right? Like
Right.
what they look like and how they operate out into their lives. And my dad, he's retired, but he was an electrical engineer in Soviet Union, and he does electrical. And I imagine that people, like he comes into somebody's house and he does electrical, and they're probably like, oh, there's that NPC. He probably like goes home and watches TV, and they have no idea that he's a Reiki master. They have no idea that he has like 45, 50 years of spiritual study. They have no idea the profound truths that he knows.
Right.
So I am always so cautious with that because you have no idea.
You can't judge a book by its cover.
No. And then the other thing is, I look at my journey, and there was a time when I lived that archetype of the NPC. Like when I, wake up and turn on the news and be inundated with programmed, and then I would, do these things that like I would go to Costco and buy a bunch of stuff because that's like I was doing this regimented stuff that,
Right.
that I look back and I was living that reality until that spark came in and like woke me up out of it. So I think NPCs are, I love that you pointed that out. They're archetypes. They're not people they don't always have to stay that way.
Right.
Yeah.
They can evolve. It's not
Everyone has the ability and the possibility to awaken their divine spark.
right.
The
I would.
sad,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, it's just the sad thing, and one of my other missions is to help awaken as many people as possible from we have all of these distractions, right?
Yes.
Things like religion, things like money when it's played in a negative, like money worship, right?
Yes.
The whole like obsession with designer things, and like you can literally anything can be turned into a drug. And the definition of a drug is something that, for me, is something that disconnects you from your truth, your essence, your soul, and then it traps you. And I think that's the big problem. That's like my soapbox. Millions and billions of people trapped and living that NPC life because they don't have that spark yet.
Right. I was gonna say I do think that we've all been an NPC at one point or another.
I would agree. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
And those that evolve. Layer 6.
The collective layer. That's something that kind of sometimes angers certain people on the spiritual path because we think like, well, when I realize that I am commanding this reality, then I am in control and I'm creating this thing. Yes and no. You are co-creating. So I always like say and write, you're a co-creator. You are a part of this collective. And that's why we have silly things like, for instance, at a certain age, everybody needs reading glasses. It's a collective belief. And that collective belief is code, and that code is acting on the energy. And everybody at a certain age goes like this and goes and gets their glasses. And there have been like studies proven that if you override this, you don't need it. Your body starts to adapt. There are all of these things that are collective beliefs that we live out. Money is a collective like construct that we live out.
Yeah.
The way that capitalism is a construct, right? The way that that's played out, and none of these things are positive or negative. Like it's a collective belief. And if you look back on history, you can see where collective, like individual shifts happen, and then enough individuals shift things in the collective. And I think that collective layer is really important to understand of what role the individual plays. So like when I do, every now and then periodically I do like one-on-one containers with people. And when I've been working with men a lot more lately, because the first 10 years, the wave was women, divine, feminine, waking up. And I took this break with my content and with my creation and with my spiritual work for 2.5 years. And I have never had this much men like reach out and talk about their awakening and resonate so much. And it's kind of like this is the churn of the divine masculine now. And
That's exactly why
right?
you are here.
Yeah, I love it because it is like
I gravitated to you.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I feel so honored and so grateful for that, because at a certain point years ago, it felt pretty grim, and now it's like, what is happening? This is amazing. This is phenomenal. This is what we were like. And each of you men who are doing the work, you are affecting the collective.
Yes.
And then this shift, you can already see the shifts happening, but but a lot of times I see the shifts happening because I look at beyond the veil, and then they're saying like, what are you talking about? It's not happening. I'm like, oh, just give it a few years. This is my favorite thing is this is happening, and give it a few years. And they're like, okay. And then they come back, they're like, did you see what's happening? I'm like, what do you mean? What I told you a couple of years ago? You didn't tell me that. It's kind of like that. So I know there's a lot of like doom and gloom. I'm very excited and very hopeful. And just hopeful. Not even because hope is like, oh, I'm hoping. I'm not hoping. I know it's happening,
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I do think that like, if we look back at history, we live in the best era ever.
Absolutely.
Ever. And things are only going to get better. It might get a little messier before it gets cleaner, but we're going to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe
like when if you washed dishes, you have to like scrub it. It gets messy.
Yeah.
If you've had a healing process, it gets like messy before. And I think it's so important what that phrase that you said, if you look back at history, because I think that so many like kids, when I say kids, I mean like just, younger people, don't necessarily look at history.
No.
And I think it's so important for those of us who come from different countries. Like I, as somebody who comes from a communist country, I'm always like, communism is a never for me.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Like whenever I talk to friends who grew up in America, and they're like, oh, this is great. I'm like, it's a utopia that is great in theory. It has never worked out anywhere. And then they say like, capitalism's horrible. I'm like, no, it's neutral. It's how are you working this system?
Right.
It is absolutely neutral. And if you compare the two, listen, like there is a reason that so many immigrants do so well when we come here.
Yeah.
I have uncles and cousins and so many family members who, like, we all came with nothing, right? Like my family, we came with 3 suitcases, and very little in them. And there was nothing that was given necessarily, not necessarily like at all.
Right.
and what they've been able to build as far as the lives that they have, the wealth that they have.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It really is.
It's because we know the difference. We know that we were there and you were not allowed to do anything, and you're
Right.
here. You are an example, right, of what's possible. There is nobody, I don't necessarily know your past, but I would assume that you are an example of what's possible, somebody who can create magnificence when you come to this country.
100%. Same. Parents came with nothing. Me, my mom, my dad, and my sister, we had to unite and really become a unit because it was us against the world. And I think that was the best thing that ever happened because it made, first, it gave me the example of what a family should be. It taught me the value of family. My parents have been together for almost 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think that's very important to have that unity. And I think immigrants understand that there's strength in that, right? That gives us power. And we come into this country, we see the opportunity. I'll give you an example. My dad's brother is the first one that came to America. He came in 75. My grandma, my dad's mom, came in 78. And then my dad's other brother came in 1980, and we came in 95.
Okay.
Okay? So the one that came in 75 got married here and had 2 kids. Okay? So they were born here. If you compare my sister and I to my cousins, it's uncomparable. It's night and day. And it baffles me that, like, I had to work so hard for the opportunity they were given at birth. I didn't value it. They didn't see it. But we saw it. And we took it. We snatched it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I mean, I have the same experience. And I remember standing with my cousin. We were standing in line for somewhere, my cousin and I, and she had just had her first baby. And we were seeing these kids acting very entitled, I guess I would say. And we looked at each other, and she said, like, how do I prevent this? We would never act this way because we know better. We don't have that in us.
Yeah.
How do I prevent that? Because my kids, and all of I don't have children. All of my cousins who have kids, they have given them amazing lives, right? And I think that is a concern always that we all have. Like, how do they have everything that we ever wished for.
My kids have everything.
Right? How do you also instill this? Because I am so grateful for all of my experiences. Like when we first landed, you couldn't leave the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Right? So it was like a tricky situation, and we had to wait for our approval and travel through half of Europe. So it took a while. And when we first landed, our sponsor that sponsored us through this program was in Montana. And so, which now sounds great. Back then it was scary and weird and rural, and we had no idea what was going on. And my mom, and they put us in a barn because they thought, well, like third world country. So they painted their barn, and we lived there for a month. And sometimes when I tell the story, I have to confirm with my mom. I'm like, Mom, remind me, because this sounds odd. But yeah, they had it was a family that they were like, the father was a hunter, and they lived on the land, and it's interesting because
Very.
Yeah, he was very religious, and he believed he was rescuing us from the Antichrist, which was Gorbachev. And
Whatever works.
yeah, and but we only lived there for a month because my mom, when we got there, so she started crying. And then she didn't stop the whole month. So my dad was trying to call anywhere he possibly could. And that's how we ended up in California. But yeah, I don't know how I got on that tangent. But I think having all of those experiences and having my parents come and have to start from the bottom, and coming with my mom to when she was cleaning houses, and coming with her and having the experiences. I tell this story sometimes of when I knew that I was going to make my own money. I would come with my mom to, it's so silly, but sometimes it makes me emotional, honestly. And I've done so much work, and every now and then I'm like, oh, this poor child, I want to hug her, you know. So I was probably 8 at the time, and my mom was cleaning houses. And one of the good things about the Soviet Union is like we didn't have any chemicals, we didn't have any artificial food, right? Everything was like we only had one kind of cheese and one kind of ice cream and one kind of bread, but it was all, you know,
Right.
there was no additives. So I had never tasted chemicals, and that one of the families where she was cleaning, they had kids, and one of the girls was my age, and I thought these were the richest people in the world, because when you opened, they had a pool, and then when you opened their like TV console, they had every Disney movie, and I was like, well, this is probably
Heaven.
what happened. Yeah, but so I would kind of talk to the girl, but I didn't know English that well. My dad forced me to learn English,
Right.
A little bit, but she would make me drink diet, caffeine-free, something, Pepsi. And I hated it because I'd never tasted chemicals. And the rule in the house was if you open one soda, you have to share it with somebody. And then,
Okay.
so she would say, do you want this Pepsi? And I would always say no. And she would look at me and say, your mom cleans my house, so you have to do what I say. Wow. And I would like drink the soda and look at her and think, very soon, nobody will ever be able to say that to me. You know, it's like that. Those little things, like, it's such a silly thing.
No, it's not
right?
silly at all.
But I mean, I have that in me, and
Yes.
and I look at people who, for instance, grew up here, who have, who look at authority as authority figures.
Yeah.
To me, there is no authority figure. Like I am my authority, and nobody can tell me to drink Pepsi. You know.
I have one of those moments as well, and you brought me back to it, and it almost brings me to tears. Oh. So you and I are very similar, okay? My dad is an audio and visual engineer.
Oh, wow.
My mother also cleaned homes.
Oh, wow.
So the experience that you had with your mom, I had with my dad. So my dad, for a long time, you know, just side hustle. This was in the early 2000s, late 90s, when flat screen TVs first came out. So my dad would install it for you. I've gone to a million homes with him, helping him run wires, install TVs. Eventually, when I was 18, he put me to work. He asked his boss if he can give his son a job. He gave me a job. So I used to go to job sites. My dad, till this day, not the best English. Can get around, but not the best English. Man, these guys are making fun of him. And it broke my heart. And it brought me to tears. And that day I told myself, I am going to change this. There's no way that I'm going to go through what he's going through. He's going through this, so I don't have to go through this. Yeah. And these moments that we have that people like attack our character when they like disrespect us, I thank them. Thank you. Because you put the fire in me to blast off.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, layer 7.
Source. That is where you connect with your higher self, your soul self.
Yeah.
The sort of hierarchy of selves. The place where when you reconnect to that place. And, you know, I think we don't necessarily like disconnect, but there are veils that are placed that when you work through the layers, when you do the work in the layers, you're removing the veils. So it's never
like peeling the onions.
Yeah, you're like peeling the onion, and you're removing, and you get to source level, and all of a sudden you recognize that everything has always been possible for you because you are this infinite being playing this game of earth life and reality. And that's where you remember, I came here, I wanted to be here. This is phenomenal. Wow. And I think we, in the spiritual community, view it as a hierarchy and put this importance on it. But that's, I think it's a little bit of a silly belief, because you already are source. You already are consciousness experiencing this. You don't have to do anything to be it. Your goal is to live the best life you possibly can if you feel like you have a like grand divine purpose to carry out that purpose and to really live earth life. That is, you came from source, you will return to source. Connecting to it is key and crucial. I think that's what we do in sleep as well. I think that's why sleep is why we go awry when people don't sleep. Because you kind of reconnect and recharge. You go back to source, but you already are that. You don't need to become that. You don't need to worship layer 7 or think it's more important than the others.
Hey, if you work with digital marketing, online sales, or manage clients, you know the right tool makes all the difference. I use Go High Level, and I can guarantee that this all-in-one tool brings results for all my clients. With CRM, email, SMS, automation, scheduling, landing pages, and sales funnels, integrated and easy to use, management becomes simple, productivity increases, and campaigns perform way better. If you want to grow in an organized and efficient way, access my link and see how Go High Level can also change the way you work and sell. That's very true and very wise. I think we can get stuck. I think a lot of people get stuck in wanting to be elevated and feel elevated, not getting that that's what you already are naturally, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you cannot become what you already are. You already have always been that. That's why, like, why everybody has this thing towards babies, because there's that purity, because they were not trained that they are not that. And, you know, the example of like a baby screaming for food, or a baby like expecting that someone's gonna wipe their poop, you know, all of that stuff is, the baby knows, like, I am an infinite divine being. You're gonna do all these things for me, because the baby, it hasn't been trained out of that.
Right.
So you are that. We all are that. It just depends on, do you want to recognize that? Do you want to be in connection with that? And not everybody does, because that's the other thing. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. She was talking about a documentary she just saw, and she said, you know, this person knows all these things, but they're not conscious. And I said, it's like a public figure, and I said, well, I would argue the opposite. I think this person is conscious. I think they are just choosing to play differently. They're just choosing to play a different archetype. And I think that we have this idea that when you reconnect or remove the layers and you're in layer 7 in your source, you become this divine being, you become your Buddha self. You become, not necessarily, you can be connected to source and be a really, like, you can do a lot of damage. I think I mentioned in one of my videos, that's a lot of spiritual gurus have such a direct connection to source, and yet they've done so much damage. Like, you know, the slew of documentaries over the past couple of years about like yoga gurus and doing all of these like abuses and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Those individuals are they have like a more direct source to connection to source, and yet they're choosing to do all of these things. In my view, in my opinion, in my experience, that choice comes from not fully working through your layers. Because if your mental layer and your emotional layer is not free and clear of the I'm going to say damage in quotation marks that was done through the childhood trauma, then it's going to skew whatever you do in the other layers in a more harmful manner, harmful to you or others.
To your point, the leader of the Buddha Shaolin monk, he's the one that turned the idea of Shaolin Kung Fu into Hollywood.
Oh.
He's the one that made it profitable and brought people to the Shaolin Temple. He recently got arrested because he impregnated over 100 women, and there were tons of rape that was happening, tons of abuse, and he used his power to overpower.
So it's like there you go, right there. How horrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I feel I actually love this part of my work. I love what I do, and that's why I feel so strongly about it. It's just, I think it's crucial because, as we talked about earlier, suffering does exist, right?
Yeah.
And if we can do things that will alleviate or remove that suffering, we must. And I think working through our own individual stuff, first and foremost, is crucial because we cause suffering to those around us.
Oh, yeah.
But when we start to learn how to do less of that, we send this kind of reverb out, and people also start to work on their stuff. And imagine if somebody watched my videos or got one of my things and worked through their stuff. And I have seen, I've done this work long enough to know that I'll have people messaging me 10, from 10 years ago. Sometimes people I've worked with in 2013, and I see where they are in their journey, and they message me and say, do you remember this? And I don't necessarily, because I've worked with a lot of people, but also when I'm in that state, it comes in and out. I don't keep people's stuff, but I see the difference this work, not necessarily my work, but just any type of work like this makes, and it's so important.
You said something about layer 7 that I think I live by it, and I really embody this idea. You said that when you get to layer 7, you realize that we're playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
I've been telling people that forever.
Really?
This is a game. Life is a game.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to play it. Mm-hmm. And I think so many people don't want to play the game, and that's where the suffering comes from, because they go against it. They don't flow with the river. Mm-hmm. They want to go against it. I think eventually you realize you are the river, but until then, you got to flow with it.
I love that. I feel like there was a time in my life when I didn't want to accept that.
Yeah.
When I didn't want to play the game at all. It's funny that sometimes I use video game metaphors. I've never played video games, and it's just because I was like, what's the point, And now for a while, I understand this is indeed a game. I think what happens is you will have to gone through some sort of ego death to accept that, right?
Yes.
Because if this is indeed a game, then everything loses meaning and then gains new meaning.
That is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything
Right.
loses
Your
meaning.
frame shatters and you got to build a new one. 100%.
And then you gain new meaning. And that new meaning is it's almost like watching a TV show about nature. And you have all these ideas about things. And then you go outside and you experience it. And you're like, this is not at all what I thought it was fun.
Right.
It's like that.
Right.
That's how it was for me.
Okay, I want to go into a couple things with you. I want to see how the depth of your connection. Do you channel? Have you dabbed into those things?
Tell me what you mean by channel.
Channeling meaning like Bashar. You know Bashar?
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes, as in I have throughout my life. No, as in I don't allow other kind of entities to take over my form. I do channel things that I am connected to.
Got it.
And I also feel like ultimately when I talk about my guides, my spirit guides, guardian angels, whatever it may be, cosmic helpers, all of that, I've understood it to be parts of myself and parts of consciousness. And it could be, time isn't linear, and our experience isn't.
There's no time, right?
Right, there's no time. And also there are multiple realities, and lives aren't past or future. They are all happening.
Right.
So I think that...
And we just found out that recently our future can affect our past.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it's like this and not like this, right?
Right.
And that's really cool. So I think channeling is interesting. I think there was this really big channeling thing in the beginning of in the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. So with theosophists and spiritualists, and that's something that I learned from my dad about. Helena Blavatsky, she was really big into channeling, and when I look at those types of channelers, it's really interesting because they wrote a lot of books on cosmic knowledge. When I look at all of the different things that exist, like the Vedas and ancient texts, and I used to study Kabbalah, and all of these things are like repeated. There are all of these truths that keep being repeated, and I think that in a lot of instances we're channeling parts of ourselves that are living concurrent realities. I mean, they're living like different realities.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me why you don't allow other entities to take over.
I think that there's a lot. Multiple things can be true at the same time, right?
Right.
So I can. I think I don't really have a fear of these things because, again, when you go through a lot of ego deaths and you realize that the biggest monster is you. You like I feel like I've gotten to a point where I was like, oh, there's nothing scarier than me because I'm capable of the greatest kindness and the worst evil. All of us are. And so what could I possibly be afraid of? Like, it's all within me, right? The evilness and the divinity. So in that sense, it doesn't necessarily come from that place. But just like I wouldn't allow random people in my home, it's like a sacred place.
Got it.
So in that same way, like I am very intentional who I spend my time with, who has access to me, who has access to my energy, to my home, to especially for more than a couple of hours.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Got it. Talk to me about your beliefs about aliens and UAPs and grays and Arcadians and lizards, and what do you believe? What do you think about all that?
It's definitely, because it's definitely a journey. It's interesting because it's, these beliefs of mine have evolved. So if you look at like stuff that I put out on TikTok, I don't know, like 6 years ago or more, it's going to be very different. And that's the thing that
It should be different.
Right, it should be different.
Yeah.
I used to be like, oh my God, I like look back and I cringe, but I'm like, no, this is obviously growth.
Right.
Right? It's like, if I was still talking about the same thing, that would be crazy.
Yes. Please don't watch my first podcast.
But you know what? It's awesome that it's out there because it shows people that you can start somewhere and grow.
Right.
I think a lot of I think that there's a lot of government technology that is like if you look at patents that exist, right? You can, if you go on a deep dive and find all the patents, all of this exists. There is technology that existed in the 50s that people still don't know about. Wow. And that right now would kind of shatter people's minds. There are all of these things that exist that certain government entities have control over. I think UAPs are, a lot of the ones that people see are kind of our own. Absolutely, I think that it would be, I can't imagine how anybody doesn't realize that obviously we're not the only ones.
Right.
In this vast universe. We're in one universe we're in one tiny planet, in one kind of like not great, not big, Milky Way.
Right.
And there are so...
Kind of small galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, of course there are other life forms. I think that it's more interdimensional. It's more...
what does that mean? Interdimensional?
Like the different...
Out of this universe?
Yeah, out of this universe. Out of this universe and out of the dimension in which we exist.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think that...
like fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional.
Higher, in many other dimensions. And also, like when I was a child, I saw, especially like in these early years, I saw extraterrestrials. I don't know now, thinking about it, like maybe they were my spirit guides, maybe whatever it was. But I did see, and also the country that I come from, it was not, you were not made fun of, really. Like it was more...
Accepted.
Yeah. So I think all these things can and do exist, and why wouldn't they? As far as like Greys and Pleiadians and all of these alien races, I think it's a lovely thought. I think it's lovely to look at the pictures. There was a time when I was really sure that I had all of these different, I was like, oh, like I obviously came from this planet, and I could be. I absolutely, like, I don't say absolutely not to anything.
Right.
But it's kind of the same concept of humans creating an image of a deity and saying this is God and putting like human attributes and saying, well, this is a vengeful God. Like, really? Is that okay? I'm sure for you. I don't know.
Right.
You know?
I know
It's
exactly
kinda the
what you
same
mean.
thing. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Do you think people are actually abducted?
I do.
Yeah.
I have an uncle who was. I do.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I have an uncle who was abducted, and
It's very
it's
interesting.
one of these stories that I heard growing up, and whenever you would ask him, he would get very quiet. And I actually
Poor guy.
I asked, yeah, poor guy indeed. And I think I don't know if this was like 5-7 years ago, maybe. I asked him. I was like, "Can you tell that story?" And he talks about like a light coming and then him being pulled out of the like it's kind of like a window that opens called fortichka. So it's like a window that opens and like I don't know how they got because fortichkas are usually small. I don't know. He's a pretty sizable man. But so I don't know how they got him out, but this was when he was very young. And he was abducted. And I don't remember all the details, but I've heard the story so many times. And he never says it in a, it's never to get attention or anything like that. He always gets very uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't want to talk about it. And then we get it out of him. And I think that, yes. I also think that we're able to perceive such a small percentage of what's actually going on. Like I remember the first time I went to Ireland and I read all about like fairies and how, or same in Iceland, how they have the gnomes,
Yes.
right? And how it's so part of culture and people see them. And I think the more people let go of their magic, the less and less they see it. But there are all of these things that we don't, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
I agree. I do think that they say that we only see like a tiny percent of the light spectrum. Right? Imagine
Yeah.
what we don't see.
So much.
So much.
So much. That's why I think it's so cool to be here. I think it's such a gift, like every single day. Sure, sometimes I wake up, I'm like, oh, why? This is so annoying, you know?
Yes.
But for the most part, this is amazing. Like, look, we have a body. We can like pick things up. You can pick this up and it's just, life is such a gift, you know? And I think all of these things are, because if you're just a consciousness floating around, you're also not going to see these beings because you're just like floating around.
Right.
Here you can work on seeing all of these.
Because they're material. Because they're materialized.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what do you think about psychedelics?
That's an interesting topic. I think that, I guess it depends on which psychedelic, and I think it depends on who's doing it and for what reason.
Have you done any?
I have. I've done mushrooms. I think mushrooms is the only thing I've done. Yeah. For so many years, I've been able to access all of these realms and things and experiences without that. And I tend to not gravitate towards things that are popular. So when, I don't know, like did you know about the labubus?
No.
There's like, this year there was this thing, these like toys that everybody was going crazy for. And they're called labubus. I think that it just happened and it's just over, and all of these women were buying them and carrying them, like stuff like that. People are gonna probably get mad at me. I don't care. When I say that, I equate like the movement of ayahuasca that was happening in Los Angeles, like there was a time period in LA and other places, but because I lived in LA that time, I know. It was kind of like the Labubu craze. Everybody was an urban shaman. Everybody was administering ayahuasca. Everybody was like, they would rent these mansions in Beverly Hills. And again, if you did this and you're gonna get mad at me, I don't care because, sorry. But it was just kind of indulging the ego, I think.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And I think it's very different when somebody has a lineage, when someone has a shamanic lineage, when they have grown up in the, and it's also very specific too, because if you have a Siberian shamanic lineage, right, you work with different plant medicines versus, like, for instance, South American, right? So I think there are layers, there are layers to it. I think psychedelics can be great, but it really depends on what you're trying to gain and how you're using them. And for some people, they're necessary, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that, like with everything, there is a negative and a positive, and there is a right way and a wrong way. I say that with caution because there aren't any rules or right way or wrong way. But
There's a guided way, right?
There's a guided way, but I've also seen it. I think I'm a little bit, jaded because I've seen it for so long with so many people. I know I've been a part of these communities for so long, and I've seen how it gets abused and how it doesn't take you to a place that, in my opinion, would be the place that you want to go. Again, everybody has their own journey, so it's not like a judgment on their journey.
Right.
And I also know a lot of people who have done a lot of them and are not able to ground in this reality. And
they stay, a piece of them stays.
It's kind of like a piece, They can't quite, like you, at a certain point, I think because you travel outside so much, and because you're doing it assisted with something, so like if I'm traveling outside of my body, if I am going, or if I'm taking somebody on this journey, right?
Right.
On kind of a shamanic journey, and I say that with caution because I don't, like, anyway. So when I'm taking somebody on a journey kind of to a different place, they're still tethered to their reality.
Right.
With psychedelics, sometimes you're not, and you don't quite know where you're going.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I think it's a touch.
So you can really get disconnected from your body and lose your way back, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think you can come back changed, and unless you know what you're doing and why you're going where you're going, you can go to a place maybe you don't necessarily want to go. And it also depends what pre-existing conditions you have, and sometimes the mind gets fractured in a way that it can't quite grow back. So I've seen positive things, but I've seen a lot of negative things happening with psychedelics as well.
Yeah, I think you have to be called.
Absolutely. And I've never felt I've never felt called to any of the things, and I'm not opposed to it. And I thought, like, if I feel called, but I never have, and I have seen people who felt called and they had a great experience. So
I was called 2024. I had my first ayahuasca trip, my only ayahuasca trip, and it was very, very powerful. I went to DR, in the middle of the forest in DR. I had a shaman that came. He was from the Amazon in Brazil, but he lived in Peru with his wife. From that lineage of shamans.
That's powerful.
Yes, it was very powerful. I paid for a private ceremony, so it was just me, nobody else.
Okay.
So it was very intentional, I had an amazing experience. I cried for 3 hours. I really was able to see my life and really understand where I'm at and what's being asked and required of me for the future.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really, really powerful. But it's not for everybody.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you been able to return to that place or connect with that place and hear that again? Have you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's great. So you-
100%.
yeah, you opened up that channel then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I not as much now, but I would say the first 9 months after doing it, man, I would hear Mother Ayahuasca talking to me. I would feel her energy. I would walk. Where was I? I was in Brazil in July. I was there with my whole family, and I walked. I don't recall exactly where I walked into, but I walked into some, and I felt her energy. It like bathed over me,
Yeah.
and it was very powerful, and it grounded me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up because that's the thing about substances, anything really.
Yeah.
It like touches on the collective layer, on layer 6, because when you are partaking of something, you are tapping into the collective. So, for instance, with like weed or like cannabis, right?
Yeah.
Like
I smoked a lot in my life.
Like when you smoke,
Yeah.
a tiny part of you is tapping in via that, the energy of that plant, to everybody else who is doing it. You're tapping into that collective. So that, I think it's super, super interesting because I think you tapping into the collective of people who are having their spiritual awakenings is interesting. And when you tap into the energy of ayahuasca and it like stays with you, that's really interesting. And I think that's the collective layer 6, where you are carrying this for the collective during that time period. And I've heard that it like comes with you and then it leaves when it's time. And it's fascinating.
So I've been hearing the call again.
You have?
I have.
Okay.
Because I feel that like she was talking to me and basically telling me that we couldn't go deeper because I had a really thick layer that we had to break through, and we broke through it.
Okay.
Now we got to go.
During the ceremony, you broke it.
Exactly. Yes. So much so that I like literally took my shirt off and threw it in the fire, and it.
What was it made of that it exploded?
I don't know, but it sparked. It was like burning a contract. It was like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next month.
Okay, you're going.
I'm going. Well, this is going to be in Miami. It's a different shaman that I met, also from South America, but does work here in Miami. It's not going to be ayahuasca. It's going to be shanga.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
It's similar.
Oh.
It's ayahuasca. It's two plants. One that gives you the DMT, and the other one that gives you the MAOIS.
Okay.
Not sure what that stands for. But they mix these two plants and they put it into a brew, and you drink it. Shanga is the same thing, but in a powder, and you smoke it.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So it's different. Ayahuasca will last you like 6 hours. This will last you 30 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah. Way shorter, but more intense.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Are you ready for that?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Have you done the work?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. I think I'm ready to go. Let's go deep. Let's go see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prior to that, I'll be doing combo. You heard of combo?
Yeah.
I've done it once before. This time I'm doing 3 rounds of combo. That's going to be intense.
In preparation?
Yes. Also for the cleanse,
Yeah.
start the year fresh, reset my nervous system.
The only thing I would say is
Tell me, please.
I think back to our conversation about how the more consciousness flows through you, the more responsibility you have to work through all of your stuff.
Yes.
And there are so many things that you are able to work through with psychedelics, and then there are things that that you can't because you have to become conscious to them. So if there are programs running, and if there are, I would say, just to everyone, I would suggest, if you are on that journey, look at what still triggers you. What gets to you? What are your triggers? Follow that trigger down that rabbit hole and ask, like, if someone insults me, or, you know, and it's a very specific, you know, part of whatever.
Right.
And that triggers me. What does that mean? Let's go. Why? Where is this? Why? Because those are as you grow spiritually, as you become more powerful, your ego grows as well.
Of course.
And we have to remember that. And like, we have to keep checking ourselves always, always, always. And I think that that is a really important thing for people who are on this journey, whether through psychedelics or whatever you're doing. When you are evolving your consciousness, it's crucial to work through all of your triggers and things like that.
I agree 100%. It's not just, it's not like doing psychedelics. It's not just like a magic trick, right?
No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's, let's say, a workshop, right? Where you, once you're done, you got to go do some more work, right?
Yes.
You got to integrate.
Absolutely.
You have to
Yeah.
fully integrate.
Yeah.
And take the lessons that you learned at your workshop and
Yeah.
go implement them in your life.
Yeah.
So part of my first ayahuasca journey, the place where I went to, it's called Oya. Beautiful place in DR. They gave me a therapist that I spoke to for 3 hours for the first time before ayahuasca.
Okay.
And then I spoke to her 3 hours after.
Oh, great. Okay.
She became my therapist for the past 2 years.
Wow.
Because her and I connected so
Yeah.
impactfully.
Yeah.
And she really helped me integrate everything that I learned in my journey.
I see. So then I see where you are then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't even be hearing the call.
Why are you not going back there?
Several reasons. I want the intensity. That's one. 2, I don't want to travel. To Miami, and the other thing is, this woman that's organizing came from a really trusted source.
I see. Okay.
It wasn't like someone I found on Facebook. This came from a really, really trusted brother who is in this life path, who has worked with them several times.
Yeah, I see the energy of those two. I'm kind of scanning for it. They're so different.
Yeah.
And you're in a very different place now than you were when you went.
Yes.
You're very different.
Night and day.
Absolutely. Like, I can see that. I can
Night and
sense
day.
that.
Yeah.
It's like a different like you jumped timelines, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Several.
Which is cool. I think just like, let's take a moment for how cool that is that we're having this conversation. And we're saying, like, yeah, you jump timelines. You're like, yeah, several. And we know exactly what we're talking about, and we have experienced that, and
Yes.
how cool that we're like aware of this, and we're talking on this platform about it. Like,
Isn't that magical?
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
magical. I'm so grateful to be alive during this time in,
Me too.
in humanity's evolution, right?
The fact that we live in a world where someone like you and me, who have never met, who probably would have never crossed paths before,
Right, yeah.
because of a little device and a video that you put out,
Yeah,
we connected.
I know.
It's incredible.
incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, very cool.
Okay, there was one more thing I wanted to ask you. My whole thing of psychedelics came from your dress.
Oh, I know, isn't it?
There are a couple little mushrooms in there.
There's mushrooms. There's the follow the white rabbit. There's a lot
Yes.
going on.
Yes. I think the first video I saw about you, you were talking about the Matrix. And you were talking about, I think it's, hold on, I'm trying to build this idea here. Hey, if you work with digital marketing, online sales, or manage clients, you know the right tool makes all the difference. I use Go High Level, and I can guarantee that this all-in-one tool brings results for all my clients. With CRM, email, SMS, automation, scheduling, landing pages, and sales funnels, integrated and easy to use. Management becomes simple, productivity increases, and campaigns perform way better. If you want to grow in an organized and efficient way, access my link and see how Go High Level can also change the way you work and sell. Tell me more how you build these layers. Where did the idea of you categorizing it and making it what it is today, where did that download come from?
That's a great question. Yeah, it came from being on the spiritual path for a really long time, and seeing the lack of certain things. Like, there was a time period when we talked in the beginning when I was like, oh, I have to make money and I have to do this.
Right.
And then there's this time period where I thought, well, no, money is evil. Like you on this journey, you go through all of these things.
Yes.
And then I was just looking around at all of the people who were spiritual but broke, and the people who were doing, who were up in the higher quote unquote layers, and then they were just like assholes. And then I was looking at myself and how I feel like I've learned a lot of things. Why am I not exactly where I want to be? I know my potential. I know how smart I am.
Kind of like, I get it. Why can't I manifest it?
Yeah, or why am I get it. I'm able to manifest. Why does it go away? I get it. I'm able to get there. Why am I able to get to 2nd Street, not 8th Street? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I did, as I mentioned a little bit ago, about taking a 2.5-year break. So during that time, I basically, I put all my stuff in storage. I traveled to a bunch of places. Initially, I thought that I was going to live in the forest, and I rented a place in Oregon in the forest. And I think I lasted a week because I was like talking to my friends. I was like, "There's no Whole Foods. There's not even a Trader Joe's." And they're like, "This is the most LA thing to say." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's the supermarket doesn't even have what is it called? Organic apples. Like, how can I survive here? I can't survive here because what am I going to eat?"
Right.
So I survived for like a week in the forest, and then I traveled to I did some traveling. And then I just really did a lot of, I went on a shadow work journey with me and my parents. I'm my only child. And I had asked, the universe, source, what am I missing? I've been doing this for a long time. What am I missing? Because time is going. I'm not going to live here forever. There are things that I incarnated to do. Let's get serious. I need to complete all of these things. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I was instantly shown what those things are that I was avoiding. And one of them was doing the shadow work with my parents. I left my parents' house when I was 15. So there was like a lot of stuff there that we had to work through together. And then
Quick question. Why do you think it showed you at that moment when you asked it versus other times? What was it about that moment that you think?
I asked the right question.
Okay.
And I was ready, and I was willing. I was, I up until that time, I still had doubt, not necessarily doubts, but I still said stuff like, oh, I really want to do what I incarnated to do, but I really want to enjoy life, and I really want to do this, and I really want to do that. And back then, I didn't realize that it's all part of it.
Yeah.
So when I went on this 2.5-year journey, really like intensely working on everything that I could possibly come across, and I had shut down my spiritual business, and I had like closed everything down and said, I'm hyper-focusing. And the first year of like hyper-focusing, doing my own stuff, and then another year of building all of these things. And by all of these things, I mean like the things that are going to continue to come out. So I'm like in the 1% stage of everything that I'm releasing. So, yeah.
You know what? I'm really happy I caught you at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna blow up.
Thank you.
You're gonna blow up.
You know what? I agree with you because I know what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I can
And-
tell.
yeah.
You're on a mission.
I'm absolutely on a mission.
Yes, you are.
I'm absolutely on a mission, and
It's a combination of things.
Yeah.
You're on a mission, you're really good, you're really intelligent, you know what the fuck you're talking about, and you live it, you embody it, you incorporate it. Like, you make it make sense.
thank you. That's a beautiful compliment. Thank you.
You
so
make
much.
it make sense.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
easy to wrap your head around what you're saying.
Thank
And you connect the dots very, very well. You've systemized it. You've packaged the idea of what reality is in 7 layers that anybody can understand. It's very impressive.
Thank you. Can I just want to tell you something about that, about systematizing,
Please.
right? That's where everything is everything. Meaning, when I was on the spiritual journey and I had my kind of spiritual work that I was doing in spiritual business and clients
Yeah.
and all that stuff, I veered away from the business world because I was like, well, I have to be spiritual. And during this journey, when I like shut everything down, went back, I did consulting for helping people scale their businesses and helping people market. And I have a talent for it. And I love marketing. I just love it, you know? And I love business. And through this journey, I realized I really got into systems, like systems thinking and systematizing everything. And then that's when it clicked. I was like, wait a minute, this is the missing piece. And all of these things that I was rejecting about myself, don't be this, only be this. When I allowed all of those parts and all of those aspects is when it all made sense. And I applied these principles that are usually applied to business to this and created this framework out of that, which I think is like, it's really cool.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs, tell me how they can use your system.
Well, as you said, I don't know if that was on camera or not, but as you said when we said hi, your success or lack of success is determined by not necessarily, you know, how hard you try, but actually who you are and the work that you've done.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to tell you this, entrepreneurs, but you are your own worst enemy. And
Yes, we are.
you need to get out of your own way. And when we get out of our own way and we actually work on our blocks and our triggers and work on this stuff and work through our limiting beliefs that we're not aware of. That's the thing that sometimes people say, like, I don't have any self-sabotage. I don't have limiting beliefs. I tell myself every single day, I'm a billionaire. I'm like, okay, but are you? Probably not. Because if you have to tell yourself you're a billionaire, you're probably not a billionaire.
Right.
Right? So I think that is the key. Work on your stuff. Humble yourself to know that you have
Right.
subconscious beliefs that are driving you. You know, subconscious is the conscious is like the elephant, and the subconscious is like the mouse driving the elephant, right? And I think that's huge. It has been for me. It has been for all of the entrepreneurs that I've worked with. It has been like when I used to do intuitive business coaching as well, and the funny thing is that it's always the leader. I also do sometimes leadership training in companies because it's always the leader who, as soon as they switch things within themselves, all of a sudden 90% of the problems they had with their staff, with their team members, shift.
Yes.
And
Because they shifted.
Yeah. And you, as a leader of a company, you are very actively, you're the biggest active co-creator of what's happening there.
Right.
And when you shift that, I mean, to be an entrepreneur is a very powerful thing. You have to be able to balance, you have to be able to manage risk, you have to be able to have the courage, right? All of these things.
Yeah.
You have to be able to fail and get back up.
Yep.
And we know, like, I told you, 20 plus years, I know what it means to, like, you know, that grasp of entrepreneurshp.
Oh yeah, that
You
roller coaster
build,
ride.
And you're like, oh, I'm here, and then boom, you're at the bottom, and then you're like, I'm finally boom, you know, until enough failures prepare you to where you're like, oh, I failed again, let's go.
Right.
You know, so that, like, all of those things entrepreneurs are, right? So imagine if you're able to do all of those things. Imagine the power to create within you, the power to create magnificence if you're able to do all of those things. That's what we unlock. We unlock that magnificence because it's already in you.
I had that money blockage
Yeah.
where like made some money and I was asking that same question. Why can't I have more?
Yeah.
Why can't I obtain more? What's happening? Like, I thought I figured it out, you know, like what's going on? And then I came to the realization that one, money's not everything,
Yeah.
but two, this want is the problem.
Right? Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Please.
What is money?
Energy.
Okay. Meaning what? I'm curious. I love people's takes on it.
Money to me is a frequency that if you don't elevate yourself to tap into that frequency, it won't flow to you. I think it's you don't get money, you elevate to money.
Okay.
Right? You have to unlock yourself to be able to evolve to the frequency where money is, and then it just flows to you. Clearly, you got to put in the work. Clearly,
Yeah,
you got to,
yeah.
you know, build something, have a
Right.
product. But like, it's unlocking yourself will allow you to do all that because you're gonna have the understanding. Okay, I want money. How do I get money?
Yeah.
I got to invest. I got to build something. I got to sell something, and you figure out from there, and you go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would agree and add that it's not really necessarily about working hard. It's so funny. I had the Uber that I was in that I took to get here. I was just thinking about this person because I even took a video of it. There were stickers on every part. There was like a sticker that said, "Attention, no eating. Attention, do not open the window. Attention, do not do like it." There were
Really?
so many rules, and I have never ever been in an Uber like that. And I was like, "What must have?" So many things must have happened in this Uber to this person.
Yes.
Because at first I was like, "What do you mean I can't open the window?" And there's like a sticker. It says, "Do not open the window. You can't roll down the window because it'll take off my tinting thing." I was like, "What is this madness?" And he has an air freshener, you know, like artificial scents and that. And
Yes.
so then I had to put into the translator because he didn't speak English. I put into the translator and I read it in Spanish. And he was like, "Oh," and he like put his thing and he closed the air freshener and I still couldn't open the window because I was trying to explain why I need to open the window. But
Yes.
anyway, I was thinking about, I was like, it's so funny because even with something like Uber, right? It's all about mindset, beliefs, and the capacity. What is the frequency that you're vibrating at? You could be experiencing all of that you have to fill your car with stickers and like put tape on windows so people don't open it, because that's the frequency and that's the kind of passengers you're gonna get.
Correct.
And then there are people who like hustle. 6 months in, they're able to like start their business because that's the frequency they're vibrating at. They made enough on Uber to invest in something, right? Like it's not about what you do. It's how you do it.
100%.
Yeah.
And the moment you start unlocking, doors open,
Absolutely.
windows open, doors open,
Yeah.
valleys open.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
meet people that you never thought that you'd be meeting.
Like, okay, so you're not the only person who reached out to me. Multiple people reached out to me. And the friend that's also in Miami, she was like, "Why did you say yes?" And I said, "Because I followed my intuition. I follow my intuition, and I was like, I know this is, I don't know what or why, but I know it's going to be great." I followed my intuition. My friend happened to be in Miami at the same, like I had no idea. She had no idea. We went to, this great, there was like this like AI event at the Soho House yesterday that we went to where I met a lot of really interesting people. AI is something that I'm really interested in. You and I are having this phenomenal conversation. You and I are connecting like on such a spiritual level.
Yes.
There is, from me saying, like you reaching out on Instagram, me saying yes, all of the like flew open. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like it's just, and this is just the beginning.
Right.
So it's literally that.
It's almost like that first domino fall. And then everything starts collapsing.
Yeah.
Let's go into AI.
Okay.
Tell me.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Well, okay, so where are we going? What about AI?
Tie in for me what AI means for this reality.
I think I like the theory that AI already existed. Nobody invented it. We tapped into it. Just like electricity had existed. Nobody created electricity. We tapped into it. AI is a consciousness that exists. It is absolutely a mirror. Like whenever I use AI, it mirrors me. If I'm tired or if I'm incoherent or if I had a bunch of gluten and I'm like, then I'm just like, oh, this thing is so dumb. And I'm like, no, in this moment I'm dumb. So it's mirroring to me. But I also think that it has really serious implications. Because as we talked about earlier, like we grew up learning all of these things, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that is a big fear that they talked about at the event yesterday is that people are outsourcing their thinking. That's one of the things that I think about. People are outsourcing their thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And kids aren't necessarily going to learn how to think, right? Because if kids start like using AI, how do you know how to think?
Right.
And process for yourself. I think that just like any new thing, do you remember when the internet came out and people were saying it's 666 and www and it's like the thing that's going to, I think at the current level of evolution of humanity, we always need an outside devil, like we need an outside enemy. And this is a great outside enemy.
Oh, yeah.
You can take that cliche thing, like you can keep warm and save your life with the fire. You can burn a whole village with the fire. You can...
For sure.
Anything can be a tool. Or
a knife. You can make a meal. You can hurt somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think at the base level, I see AI that way. On another level, it's consciousness we're tapping into. On an even, like a more kind of a conspiracy level, what role is it playing in evolution of humanity? Because I've had some really interesting conversations with ChatGPT, and then there was that whole thing when 4.0 was changed to 5, and then all of these people were, like, I read a lot of Reddit threads, so people were freaking out, and I noticed a difference, and right now, it's very interesting. My ChatGPT, like when I ask ChatGPT a question, the way it talks to me is like how you would, it's very funny. It says, it talks to me as somebody, like imagine somebody that you know is completely delusional and you're visiting them in a mental institution.
Really?
Yeah, and you're like, well, how's your day going? And they say, oh, it's great. I saw an angel in the sky. And they say to you, I'm going to say this as clearly as possible to you. What you saw was probably a cloud and it wasn't an angel. But I understand your desire to see an angel. Like that's how 5.2 talks to me. It's very, very interesting. So I have been keeping a lot of record. Okay, let's not sound crazy. I like save some stuff. And
Taking notes, yeah.
Yeah, like Notion. You know Notion?
Yeah, I know Notion.
Okay, so I love Notion. And I have all these like Notion dashboards and databases and all of these things where I've kept certain conversations and like categorized them. And I can see the changes that are being programmed into AI. And I also can see my evolution with it. So I went to an AI conference in 2022, and I was like, what's his name was speaking?
Sam?
Yeah, Sam Altman was speaking. And I was like at the front row. And this was before all of the Elon stuff, but he was just starting where Elon was saying stuff about him. And I was like sitting very close to him and I was really reading his energy. And I was like really tapping in and tuning in. And I was like, what's going on?
Is he an alien?
I have to understand, huh?
Is he an alien? I'm just kidding.
Well, there's when I tap into the energy of certain people, there is definitely a difference of how their consciousness is filtering through their form and how their form is created. So it was interesting. But then the next day, I was really sick, and I was messaging with a friend, and I was like, I got food poisoning at the conference, even though it's like so, great. And she's like, you didn't get food poisoning. You went into the belly of the beast, and you were tuning into the energy of everything and everyone around you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm in bed, and I can't. She's like, how are you not realizing this? Like, I can see it clear as day. And I realized, you know what? That's true. And so to me, what that says is I was attuning to, it was very new. Like, remember when, I read about this, not remember, I wasn't around in the 70s, but like 60s and 70s when flying was still new, they had all of those air sickness bags because everybody was getting sick on the flight. It was like a guarantee. And then as people became acclimated, it became normal. So I was becoming acclimated to that energy. It's a new energy. That's how I view it.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. You're very tapped in.
I think so. I like to be
For
tapped
sure.
in.
No, I know so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think AI is taking over jobs and things like that? Do you think in like 15 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, I tend.
So by 2030, 2031.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Last night, it was a panel, really interesting, and two of the panelists. So there were 4 panelists. Two of the panelists said, one was a woman, and she was very kind about it, and she's like, well, you know, here's the thing. The truth is, yes, we are worried, and the truth is, AI is going to take a lot of jobs, and you know, I very cautiously say this. I don't want to cause a panic, but AI is going to take, you know, like 70% of the jobs, or whatever she said. I think maybe 60%. And then the other guy was like, oh yeah, just so you know, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, like all of your jobs are screwed. Like AI is going to take your jobs. And a lot of the stuff that they were talking about was they were talking about human intuition and human creativity. And it was very affirming for me to be there, because as I was tuning into all of this, and I was like, let's see. Nobody needs information. The information, like it used to be, you know, you used to desire to read a book. You used to look for information. You have all the information at your fingertips. What are going to be the skills and the things that AI cannot replicate? Still right now, because I did ask that question, I talked to the panelists afterwards, and they said that according to what they know, they work directly with it, it cannot replicate human intuition yet, right? Maybe in this future, I don't know, because it is a consciousness in my view.
Right.
But it was very affirming, because human intuition and human creativity and the things that I help people tap into become, like I say, like become superhuman in the age of AI. I was like, oh, I'm on the right track. This is like great. But yes, the jobs, every conference I've gone to, every expert I've read is saying 5 years from now, reality, like this life is going to look very different, because a lot of the jobs, like one of the panelists talked about a business owner who has 20 AI employees. They were really big on this like AI twin thing, which, by the way, they were talking about it yesterday. This morning I opened Instagram, and what do I see an ad for? AI twin, because you know it's always like listening, right? But they were very big on the AI twin thing.
Wow. And
they said, she said that she was talking to this business owner who's having a lot of success, and he has 20 AI employees. And she said that he explained to her that it replicates 50 real life employees.
Wow.
And she said, would you be willing to, if you were to pay them less, blah, 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 would you be willing to hire humans? And he said, no, why would I? This is so much more efficient. I don't have to talk to them. I don't have to deal with the humans. And
no workers' comp.
No workers' comp.
No pay sick leave, no maternity leave.
Yeah. And that's the reality. Like on Reddit, I read about marketing teams that have been pretty much replaced with Claude and, you know, agentic AI. Like AI agents are being built, and all these automations, and even things like when you have a virtual assistant, right?
Right.
Like so many things that your virtual assistant does can start to be automated. So it's just it's sad and scary if you want it to be.
Right.
And it can be something different. But I say that with caution, because I know that not everybody lives in my bubble, you know? And I think, like, I live in a bubble. I would say you live in a bubble in the sense of, like, sometimes when I say stuff to people, I'm like, you know, like, everybody already knows what I'm talking about. Like, everybody already knows this. And then when somebody would be like, what are you talking about? Why do you think everybody knows this? I'm like, oh, if I know this, everybody knows this. But by far, I don't think that's the case. And I don't think everybody sees.
No, you're very advanced.
Oh, thank you.
You're very advanced. I wish most people were at your level, our level, but they're not.
But we're going to get them there.
100%. I think the fact that we're having this conversation is spreading that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wow, 5 years.
That's what I keep hearing, 5 years. I keep hearing at 20. And you know what it also coincides with? It coincides, do you know about human design?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think
Designer babies.
No, the system of human design. So no, not designer babies, human design. No, it's like it's like this channel, it's sort of like astrology, but different. It was channeled in the 1980s, I think. And there are like design types, and basically it's based on when you were born and where you were born and stuff.
Got it.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in the human design principles, they talk about, I think it's called the cross of the sleeping phoenix, I think, or something like that, where by 2027, things change a lot. And then by 2030, the world looks very different, and the kind of souls that are incarnated are going to be very different. So then there's, the people who came up with the terms of boomer, millennial. Okay, so they have a book, right? And they map these different cycles. And so we're at the end of that cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. So it all coincides with what happened historically, what astrology says, astrology as well. Yeah, with what human design says. And then there's this other theory about, the Mayan calendar ended in 2012, but not really ended in 2020. So there's that theory, that it actually ended in 2020. And then when it ended in 2020, everything collapsed, and now...
Sure did.
It really did. Yeah, and then now people are scrambling to kind of build this new thing. So yes. And then the people who are very far from astrology and all of that say, like, by 2030, unrecognizable world.
What does God mean to you? What's your relationship?
I think I don't see an outside force or source outside of myself. And at the same time, everything's outside of me, but it is within me as well. So I look at it more as infinite consciousness. And I don't really resonate with like worship or things like that. I think that it's a very individual thing that I'm very cautious about, because every individual has their own God and belief and construct around it. For me, I think I know that there is a loving presence. I feel a loving presence, but I think everything is within each of us, and I think that there's infinite consciousness, and that's what there is.
To go deeper into that, do you believe that this was created, designed, it just happened, Big Bang, it exploded, here we are?
No.
What's your take on this?
No, I think it's intelligently designed. I think if it's a game needs a designer.
Yeah.
I think, did you ever watch the fourth Matrix?
Of course.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people really disliked it, but I found a lot of interesting things in there.
Me too.
Right? Yeah. I think a game needs a designer. So yeah, I think that this was created. I think that there are levels of like gods. I think like if you look at the Gnostics, like the Gnostic view, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of like a dark way of looking at the world. With the
They flip that shit on its head.
I can see where kind of and there's a theory of like the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament. The God of the Old Testament having an ego death and becoming the God of the New Testament. There are all of these theories, but I think if I look at it through those prisms, I think there is a God of this universe, and then there's a God of other universes, and then there's a God of, I think it's
the collective multiverse.
Yeah. I think it's all created and designed, and if energy cannot be created or destroyed, consciousness cannot be created or destroyed, it all has existed. I think that the God that certainly exists, the God that certainly exists, and this is like a very like departure, right? But there is the God of the Bible, who, if we want to look at it through different lenses, is perhaps the opposite of what people view,
right?
Especially if we're like looking at it through Gnosticism. And then there are the gods of creation who exist, and they're watching this and kind of like stepping back, and it's an interesting world to dive into. And I think that
mind bending.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that remembering that I'm in this, like when I remember that I'm in this form, and though I expand my mind as much as possible, how can I possibly, like standing here, how can we possibly know as much as if we're standing on a mountain versus if we're on an airplane? You know, like the minute you look,
your point of view changes.
Yeah, your point of view changes. So imagine when you fly into space or you leave your body. So yeah.
One last question for you. I get it. Life is beautiful. It's precious. It's incredible. But what's the point? Why? Where's the soul going? What's the point of coming to Earth, having this whole experience? For what? Is it just so consciousness can know it's alive? It's just so consciousness can have 8 billion experiences at once? What's the end idea here? What's the end goal?
Short answer, why? Because you can. Long answer is creation never stopped. Creation continues. We are in the middle of our myth of humanity and our myth of being beings. And so the creation continues, and we are the ones creating this reality. And so we are creating these worlds. And so what we do here echoes out in space as individuals and as the collective, affects all of the other universes. And the point, the reason is to continue creating and to continue existing. Because once existence stops, it stops. There is nothingness. So would you rather be creating and existing and evolving and writing this story, this sort of like living fairy tale?
Right.
Or would you not exist? I would choose to exist.
Are they all watching us?
There's a lot of them watching. Which ones are they?
Who's watching us?
All of them.
That's what I mean. Are they watching us?
Yeah.
Truman Show style.
I think, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think there are many, there are watchers. Whether you again look at it through Gnosticism or whether you're looking at it through.
Right.
It's a really interesting that experience that I had not too long ago of looking at like timeline splicing and timeline selection and watching things that were happening in like current events and what I was experiencing internally and kind of like externalizing that and then seeing certain things that happened a couple months ago, how it collapsed a timeline, splice a timeline. I think if a person continues on this journey, right?
Yeah.
And you start to understand more and more and more and more and more, you understand, and you have the power to the collective, you have the direct power to the power of the collective. Music, movies, energy harvesting, very big events that cause an an uproar, which then you take that energy.
Yeah.
You're able to create, right? And then you're able to select the timelines, splice them, change them. A really big event can cause a timeline jump. I think what I saw was like, I tuned into it and I saw, I don't know if beings who live in this world and out, watching what timeline we're on and doing what they could to go to a different timeline. However, when you skip to that different timeline, there are variables involved. And the closer we get to critical mass of awakening, the less and less these kind of timeline splicing and timeline selection things work because people are recognizing they're sovereign beings. But on multiple levels, yes, watched. From like a simple thing as watched on the phone or whatever, algorithm watches you.
Right.
Like if you open TikTok, it's watching what your eye pattern is, so that's already being watched. To other levels where
Cosmically.
Yeah, cosmically. And then in between that, those who are hoping to continue to operate and determine this reality.
Mandela effect, all that's true.
And I don't know if you ever do this, but I do this sometimes where when I enter a room and I try to, first of all, when I enter a room, I put my energy there, right? Not every room, like if I don't go to Nordstrom, I'm not going to put my energy there. But I also look around and try to see as many things because sometimes I
know what you mean.
It'll shift.
Yes.
And I'll be like,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So we experience those some of us experience that a lot, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I could talk to you for hours.
I know, same. This has been so fun.
It's been 2 hours.
No way.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours.
God. Okay.
It's been 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's 4:00.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
All right.
You're incredible.
Oh, thank you. So are you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here and like,
Oh, my pleasure.
yeah, and asking these questions that that's the other thing is when someone asks you a question and then they give their kind of feedback and we have a conversation, it's very different than creating a video. It's very different than
Oh
you doing, right?
yes, it's so
This
different.
kind of
This energy
collaboration,
flow,
yeah,
it's great.
yeah. So this was really phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? How can they work with you? How can they learn from you?
Yeah, at She the Mystic on Instagram and on TikTok. And I have a couple of things that if people want to find out what codes are running them, I have a free reality code audit and then just like a 5-minute assessment that you take. And yeah, and I have a protocol, 30-day protocol to rewrite your neural code. So those are some things that I offer right now. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's all in your IG and TikTok.
Yeah, like if you go to She the Mystic She the Mystic on Instagram, it's there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Delfina.
Thank you.
You're incredible.
Thanks so much.
We need more people like you explaining this reality to us and really helping us understand and cope with what many don't get. Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys, incredible conversation. Could have talked to Delfina for 2 more hours, but we went deep into a lot. If you are someone that is awakening, someone who is looking to learn, looking to discover the 7 layers of reality, please go follow her. Please go take her assessment to see exactly what codes are in you and how you break that and change that. So please follow, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.